Okay. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Jim Graywolf here with my brother Christopher, who's co-hosting this week with me, and two friends, Sarah and Mary. And we actually have 17 people up on Pine Ridge this time. We have a large group who are listening via phone, and they will connect back in as they can because they don't have computer connection. We're going to work a bit on solstice. And I'm involved in 4 different solstice ceremonies and gatherings this year, which I love, but it's a lot. Actually 5, one's online. And there's a reason. It's because everything's moving so fast now. One of them is actually with Mary, who's here with us physically on the show. It's really important. I was talking with a couple of Hopi friends about this because I was talking about the seed stocks they have, the original seeds. And they wanted to know, okay, Jim, are you going to do anything for solstice this year? And I said, I am. There's a lot. And they have a lot as well. So one of them brought up, are you going to keep it all positive? Let's not talk about any of the negative aspects of solstice that can be brought in. And I thought, that makes total sense. We don't need any darkness. We are the light. And so let's be the light. Some folks were going to be here today, but they can't. 2 of them are traveling. They're with us in energy and spirit. And let's jump in.
Recording.
Yeah. And we are recording. So feel free to spread this around when we're done. I always get it up within a few hours usually. This is a participatory show. It always is. So we use the talking stick if you want to talk. If you're here in the 4 of us, just put that little hand thing up and I'll see it. It's under reactions. Our friends from the res, yep, they're set. They can hear us. And they're saying, we're probably going to have a lot of questions. Okay, that's fine. So let's dig in. Summer solstice. What the heck is summer solstice? Well, it's the longest day of the year, for one thing, which in the indigenous way, you don't rush to try to fill with extra things just because it's the longest. In fact, you try to do the opposite. Slow down, bring in some more meditation, journeying, feeling into the earth mother. Don't try to just, boom, blast it apart. And that's why even with all the things I'm doing this time, I'm glad they're spread out because I want to do them carefully and slowly and make sure each one adds to the overall effort, which I'm sure they will. I'm going to something tomorrow with my friend General Thunder, who might be on here later. We've got 65 students coming up from Phoenix, and we'll get a chance to talk with them right near me here. So there's a lot of moving and shaking, I guess I'm saying. Solstice is a time in the indigenous way to go deep inside yourself, to see what you're feeling, and to really question, what do you need? What resources, what energy, what do you need to change to move ahead on the walk, to move ahead in the light right now, since that's the most critical part. And so that's what I'm hoping to do. No, it's not what I'm hoping to do. That's what we're going to do in this show today. All right, there's my opening speech. Mr. Christopher, Mr. Co-host, do you have anything to, are you there? Oh, there he is. Hey, no eating. Busted.
For me, I'm not going to try and pretend I know a lot about summer solstice. I've heard of it. I know the basics, but I've never involved myself in it. I learned to listen to it, listen to the earth and her natural cycles. Now, talking with Jim yesterday, I became aware of how this also is one of those cycles that we often refer to. I've been listening to the earth as, the planet under my feet, but I haven't been listening to the cycles of the air, of the water, of the seasons that way as much as I could have. And I know, when we look at summer solstice, I look at the beginning of the summer, the gathering time, fruit harvesting, stuff like that, gathering resources, enjoying the abundance, but also learning to pass it on. Realize it's not a stop point at me. It's part of a natural cycle of, what flows to me should keep flowing in whatever way it does. And realizing this natural constant state of flow of how things move and change, and learning to adjust to both the seasons, not both externally, but internally. We have our own summer, our own autumn, our own winter, our own spring. And for me, the sooner we get back to these, the better. We realize the different growth cycles. So what Jim has just shared brings me back to that sense of cycle within, which I use in meditative journeys and things like that. And yeah, I'm still learning from our conversation yesterday. So thank you so much for that, Jim.
You bet, brother.
Talking stick in the middle.
Thank you. Good opening. Oh, Mary or Sarah, either want to contribute anything, or I'll move along and just.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
hang on, let me do my, anyway, no hand here.
That's all right.
I find that it's the strongest masculine energy because it's the solar, it's the daylight coming to fruition now. And working with that energy in the summer is so powerful. And what I've learned is not to force things, but to reflect and find out what is coming through from source, from my divine self, rather than my ego, and allow it to flow through rather than me, in my finite mind trying to create something or to bring about change or whatever. So it comes from within, and reflecting on the masculine and the longer days and the shorter nights, and yeah, bringing about the balance in that cycle. And I feel like we're here to bring about the positive changes and the positive aspects of the masculine, which is kind of needing a lot of positive balance and holding light at this time with all the other things going on. So we really are needed to hold the light and hold the frequency and raise it. And that's what these ceremonies do. And through meeting in a group, you are amplifying it. And that is the reason. And balancing the elements of nature and the horizontal and the vertical planes, keeping things aligned. That's what we're here to do. So that's
Very good. Thank you. That's excellent input. Yeah. As you were talking, a message from Pine Ridge from some of the grandmothers, and they're saying, "Whoopala, grandmother." That's exactly what we were thinking. So yes,
I don't feel like a grandmother.
Well, grandmother is not about age.
I know.
It's about wisdom.
I'm still waiting on that one.
Yeah, right. I've been a grandfather for 25 years. I'm like, what? Now I actually am, so I don't care.
I'm a grandmother to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, right. So they're also adding, yes, it is the masculine energy. It's the sun. It's also the equivalent of the south in the medicine wheel. So it's a time of heat and energy and creation and procreation, building. We need that masculine energy to show up. We don't have enough in too many of our gatherings. Again, it used to be years ago when I originally stepped up on the spiritual road. It was mostly all women. There would be like a couple of men at things with me. And then over time, it started to balance out. So I would see more of a balance. Now, with everything going on, too many men have ducked back. And so we need them to step up. We need balance. We need masculine and feminine balance. And that's a big part of what Solstice can bring to us. It's also a time of the young people to speak. And the elders tend to speak more in the fall solstice when we start talking about reaping and harvesting and getting ready for the winter. So it's also generational as well as gender based. Boy, they're typing away with all those people. Pine Ridge folks, we're going to get to as many as your things as we can, but there's a lot of you. And thank you. Always good. Good, always good information. Okay, Christopher, you have your hand up.
Yeah, part of what's coming up for me as we're reflecting is that pendulum effect where we're looking, once again, it's not one way or the other, it's not male, it's not female. It's that fine balance line in between when the pendulum's in the middle. It touches both male and female, but it's neither. And one of the way Jim's and I have experienced this, we've come from that very, what I call out of balance masculine side, where we've come from our heads. We've been totally involved in the masculine and where we come from. And we've learned to shift from out of our heads into the feminine feelings. And this is a lot of what I see we're getting the opportunity to do, you know, so as we come between the seasons, yes, we're aware of the masculine energy, but we're holding it also in a feminine way. So we're not separating ourselves from the feminine energy by learning to come from our feelings. And masculine side is now shifting from thought operation activity to heart-based feeling activity, which is where we've been experiencing the male and females energies coming in balance and working together. We have to work with it within ourselves as much as externally. And when we come together internally, it manifests in our physical activities realm and whatever we're doing. And that has been a huge lesson for me from working with Jim. Thank you. Talking stick in the middle.
Thanks, Chris. Welcome, Jasmine. I see you came in. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. Working a lot with my Lakota family and my Mayan family, both. Been doing a lot of that work since Chris and I went out last year, went on the road for an extended period, and quickly realized that our brain work and planning was not going to work. So it turned into a kind of what Mary was talking about, getting into our hearts and listening, knowing we had to not only hear the Earth Mother, but follow what she said and just be open. And boy, the more we did it, the more things happened. And that's still carrying through. So I think that's something we definitely have to do. From Grandfather Francis up in Vine Ridge. He's mentioning the old story of the which wolf do we feed? And most of you probably know that story, but just a real quick thumbnail sketch. A young brave went to an elder, went to a shaman and said, you know, I try to do things right, but then I do some things wrong and I just can't get it. So I'm always doing the things the right way. What do I do? How do I heal that? And there's a lot more story to it, but the answer is each of us as a human carries within us a light wolf and a dark wolf. And which one is dominant? The one we feed the most. And so right now we're working heavily on feeding that light wolf. There's still a lot of darkness out there. And together feeding that light wolf, we will overcome it. Most of the prophecies talk about how we've already been successful. However, if we don't take the steps and do the work, that doesn't mean it's going to hold. So thank you, grandfather. I appreciate you. And I'm glad we have at least 2 men up there that I know. See any hands up? No. Okay. Let me see what this is. Okay. Sorry, I didn't open the chat box. Now I did. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Hold on. I haven't turned my other voice type off and it's trying to do something. That feeding the light wolf and the dark wolf for me, one of the things that I'm aware of, we look at not going into anything negative, and we often think the darkness, wherever we refer to it, is a bad thing. I often look at the darkness and I find within myself, it's that unconscious part of me. So when we come from our unconscious part, often we're in our action reaction. We're in the world of separation. We haven't learned balance in that area of our life yet. So as we get back in touch with ourselves, which is when consciousness comes in, we start to come from the light, from that inner guidance, the part of us that knows our way through this issue, through this event, through this activity. We participate in balance rather than separation, which once again is sort of balancing the male energy out and finding that path through. It's collecting all things in one, essentially, is the way I see it, which is still part of what I see as the summer solstice. You know, we're at that point where we've gathered from the season, we're bringing things together and looking at our way forward. Yeah, just a segue there. Talking stick in the middle.
Good, thank you. Mary.
Yeah, to add to that, what I found is rather than repelling and rejecting the dark, is to go into it and embrace it and ask what messages are behind it, not the outside, you know, the reactive stuff, but what's underneath. And usually it's fear, and what's driving that fear, and how do we diffuse that fear? Because that's what drives the darkness. And so as a light worker, you go in and you ask, what is this message here? What am I to, and if I'm reacting, then there's something in me that I need to reflect on before I even respond to them. And it's a response rather than a reaction. If you're reacting, there's something that needs to be addressed within yourself first. Then you can handle it in a very balanced way and actually come to resolution, or at least an understanding. And that's where change and progress comes from. So I wanted to mention that. So that's that's my thing.
Yeah, good. No, good information, good points. Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of fear out there right now.
Yeah. And if you match dark with dark, what are you doing? You know, if you're just throwing dark at them, you're in the same game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grab the stick. So yes, there's a lot of fear, and I'm getting from some of the grandmothers up there now, actually from a discussion they're having in the group up there. Talk about the fear, Jim. This is a great time. Solstice is a wonderful time to come together in the light and work on our fears together. There's a thing that's been coming up quite a bit. I've actually done a couple of short videos on it because I was asked to. There's this, and some of the people in this group today I've talked to about it even. There is this, I don't know what the right words are. There are people who we know, sometimes very close to us, coming and telling us things. Coming and saying, oh, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you need to do that, or maybe you should do that. And intentional or not, a lot of those are in the dark because they are afraid and they hate to see anyone else getting out of that fear. It's not conscious most of the times, it's subconscious, but it's definitely happening. I've had it happen to me a couple times just this week. And someone came to me just before this show started, as I was on another call, the Earth Shock call for the gathering in Crestone in August, and asking about the same thing. So we really want to be careful when we're doing this, and having something like a solstice where a lot of us can gather, whether it's virtual like this, or it's in the physical realm, like we'll be at Mary's in a couple of days, can make a huge difference. Tie into that. Feel what others are feeling and saying. However, make sure you're reserving for yourself anything you do right now. Do not follow somebody else's road right now. I strongly suggest, because it's going to throw you off. Maybe again in a little while, yes, but things are moving and shaking so much. I just heard about the 5th white buffalo calf a little while ago. It's not announced yet, from this summer. That's 5. That's an enormous number of white buffaloes showing up at once. And the prophecy is, as the white buffaloes appear, that we are entering the chaos of that time of change. Well, I happen to think we've been in it for 6 months, as I was told by the Kogi, but certainly it's picking up speed. So yeah, focus on yourself. Do what your heart tells you, not your brain. We can get really tied up here too. And I still can do it at times. And then I go, oh, darn, I'm in the wrong place. When that happens, slow down, relax, breathe, back into your heart. Your heart is going to tell you the right way right now. Your heart doesn't suffer fear the way that the brain does, because the brain's job is to protect us. That's what's born into our brains. And sometimes it protects us from things we don't need protection from, like major changes. I'll bet you some of us right here now are going through major changes once again. It's a lot of times for me, but I've walked around the sun many times. But as we do, the brain's saying, stop, you're at risk, you're at risk. And no, you may not be. There's no more saber-toothed tigers. There's no more woolly mammoths. We're okay. We have fire. We can sit around the circle together. So definitely the heart will help with that. Okay, I'll shut up for a minute and go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, you virtually covered 2/3 of the subjects I was going to talk about with it. The big thing, oh, look, it's perfect. I love it. I don't need to talk. You just do it. The big thing with fear that I bring up for people, we've got that acronym where fear is false emotion appearing real. When you sit in fear, fear is always a projection of what we think is going to happen. It's always a future projection, even if it's half a second in the future. And when I often ask people, is it happening right now? Majority of the time, the answer is no. So the fear is about something that does not currently exist. It's an imagination, it's a fantasy. And when it is happening, we're usually in action reaction. So we're doing something, we're acting upon what's going on because we're having to deal with the moment. Now, fear is a brain activity. It only exists in the brain. When we use meditation, or as I say to people, are you thinking? To notice that we're thinking, there is the thought and the awareness, it's aware of the thought. Drop the thought out. Awareness that exists in the moment, which is the only place awareness exists, does not have fear. The argument I get from many is, but we need fear to stay alive. We need to be afraid of certain things. And as I say, when we look at the awareness is not stupid. It doesn't have fear. It has a whole new set of resources and understandings. And then we can go to consciousness through that. It has its own range of resources and understanding. Neither of these have fear. They understand harmony. They understand flow. We hear this through our hearts, through our connection, which is why we learn to come together. And I'm realizing through this discussion how ceremony and celebrating things like the summer solstice and other things that we celebrate is a way of coming together in community out of fear. Fear is based in separation. Our community, our hearts do not work in this place. So how do we stay alive? We are conscious, we are aware, we are present, we understand flow, we understand harmony, we understand life. life guides us in a harmonious way, whereas brain activity is sitting there analyzing and thinking and forgetting our connection, which is empowered. It's in the flow of life, which is where our empowerment comes from. It comes from connection. It comes from community. It comes from passion. It comes from love. And yeah, talking stick in the middle.
Very good. This is great. I'm getting hit in 30 directions. This is fun. Mary, you got your hand back up. You're on. Talking stick to you.
So I wanted to say that fear is an emotion. And so in order to deal with fear, you have to embrace what's in the body. And I have a feeling somebody needs to hear this. When fear gets trapped in the body, you have trauma and it's unresolved. And the way to release trauma is to move into the fear with breath and intention and staying in the moment. And not trying to press it down, but asking what message it has. And I've been through many opportunities to clear trauma in my own life. And it's not an easy process, but it is doable. And you'll feel lighter and you'll have a clear perspective once it's cleared. So it's through breath work and intention and listening to whatever message it has for you. But breath work is how you release it and clear it. So I just wanted to add that short piece, which could be a long piece.
Thank you.
Mm.
Stick in the middle? Okay. Yeah, Chris, before I send it up to you, let me expand on some of this a bit and bring in some of the other comments. Yeah, yes, fear can block anything. If we go to the bottom of anything, anger, hate, doubt, jealousy, you always find fear. Fear is at the very bottom, always. And that's even from psychology, that's a part of the study. So we have to address it. And it's much like grief. Mary, you're totally right. If you don't go into it, if you don't face trauma and fear, they fester. I'm dealing with several people right now, one very close to me and a couple also close to me, all facing trauma and all doing it in a different way. So I have also had some extended times I had to face trauma. And you're right, it's not easy. However, it's very doable. And part of coming from our friends up in Pine Ridge again, part of Solstice now, it used to be that we were, I'm going to paraphrase because they wrote a whole lot. Used to be we went in by ourselves to explore what we should do separately to move ahead. So we do sweat lodges. Most of this solstices I did with my indigenous relatives. We did lodges, we did other ceremonies, and we quietly kept to ourselves even as we did the ceremony. Now it's shifting. Now we're doing it together. So we can get some of our own direction, but we're also asking for direction for our circles, for those who are close to us. So we can maximize that light energy. We're feeding the light wolves together. That's it. And that has a synergistic effect. So 1 + 1 = 3 or 4, not 2. And then if you have a big circle, if you got 5, 6, 10 people, then that light just shines brighter and brighter all the time. So thank you. That's great input. Tom, I don't know who that was, but thank them for us. And they're right. That's really critical. And that's anything I do this year with Solstice. That's what I'm working from. That position of we're doing it together, which doesn't lose your individual work. In fact, it makes it stronger because you have the collective piece and then you have the individual piece, and they come together. They weave together. And what we're doing now is weaving, that's for sure. So I was going somewhere else with that. I lost it for a minute. Jasmine or Sarah, either of you want to add anything before I go back to Chris? Okay. Christopher?
Oh, I get to talk again. Yeah, both Sarah and Jasmine, you're always welcome to add any input, whether it's directly through voice or if you want to add something in the chat column, you're welcome to do so there as well. One of the big things that I want to add to what you were saying, Jim, like I used to come from a very separated place. I was very individual, very independent, and I know what life was like that. And it's only about 5 years ago I got put in a situation where it was realized either step up and be in connection with people and be in communication with people, or as the powers that be, the direction I was pointing is either be here fully, or don't be here. And it's been a healing journey for me, learning to be here, stepping into life in communication and connection. And I found with Jim and I, we work far better in community and with each other than we do individually. A lot of what it has made what we do work is because we're working in that community, even if it's a community of two. But we have others who come into it, like this single call here. We've now got 5 people present with us in this room. We've got our Standing Rock family, and we've got those who are going to listen to it afterwards. The community both grows, expands, and becomes more and more involved, which is we're finding. Now, one of the things with fear I want to mention here, in my learning, I realized fear is one thing, but often the disabling factor is our fear of the fear. When we become afraid of the fear, we become disempowered by the fear. It's a double layer disempowerment. And it's learning to understand the fear, like you were saying, Mary, drop into it, get to know it, and find our way through it. You know, to me, one of the key factors of fear tells us we can't manage something. We've got to run, hide, do something. You know, and as Jim said, you know, it was great when there was woolly mammoths and things around. Really good to get out of the way of them. They tend to squash you if they stand on you. Whereas learning to say, I can step out of the way of this. We can either do it from fear or understanding harmony. You know, the woolly mammoth got its path it's going along. I'm on its path. Let me step out of the way. So we don't have to become involved in something, even if there is a fear. There can be a version of healthy fear when we're coming from brain activity, but all fear inherently is disconnecting. When we're really impaired, I find fear itself tends to disappear. And we come from understanding, coordination, compassion, empathy, and what I call life flow. Our body is guided to be in the position that is most life-giving and life-sustaining. Mm-hmm. Now, just a quick background to understand fear, I sat with it. And the first time I sat with it, I did it for 2 weeks. I had to fully embed myself in it to understand it. It is a journey. Talking stick in the middle.
Yeah, good. And that doesn't mean we don't go totally into our heart and have no fear, because then we'd step out in front of a taxi cab and go, oh, look, what a neat taxi cab. So no, you know, there's a certain amount of
Healthy fear.
Healthy, yeah, for sure. Okay, so coming from Pine Ridge, we're halfway through the show. This is really excellent. Can we now move into out of any of the darkness, and how do we use the light of solstice? How do we use this energy we're talking about to increase the light and increase the energies? And then again, there's a lot more, but that's the idea. So let's do that. Okay, we got it. There's all these darknesses that are there and driving things. What are we going to do around solstice that brings that light out? And how do we use it? Mary.
Well, I was going to say self-compassion. We are so compassionate to everyone but ourselves a lot of times. And it comes from within first, or it needs to have a real impact. And I would say that segues into exactly what you're saying right now in ceremony. is to reflect on self-compassion and self-love, and then radiate out from there into the group, into the community, into the world. Everything begins within. So there you go.
Good. Yeah, you said, when you're done talking to anybody, you can say, I'm done, or stick in the middle or whatever.
Oh, stick in the middle.
That's good, just so we know to move on. Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's something, boy, it took me so long to learn. I was raised as the oldest male in my generation. I was told that I had to take care of everybody in the family first, and then me. Took a long time before I realized me wasn't getting any work at all.
Yeah.
So now I get it. So yes, that's really important. The other biggie, of course, is love. And this whole show could have been just called love. Love is absolutely critical in everything we do now. And that means unconditional love. Another thing I had a lot of trouble learning. And I'm still working on it, but I do get it better than I used to. And we men seem to be much slower at understanding unconditional love than you women do. And I think that's one of the things we have to really work on as men. I have, and I know a lot of men have not. So that's something else to work on. But once you get there, boy, does that provide a great well of light. And it's a well we can tap into. Oh, Montezuma's well is right below. No pun intended. That just came.
I do.
Yeah, some things just appear. Yes, another biggie is patience. Not one of my virtues until fairly recently. I'm a wolf. I'm gray wolf. My Lakota family gave me that name intentionally because I am a wolf. And I was a wolf warrior for a long time. I had to really work on it. And now with people close to me going through things, I have to be patient because sometimes they will lash out. Sometimes they won't understand something. Sometimes I'll want to relay something that they could work on if they wish. But if I let anger get me at all, the message won't get through. So I think patience is another big one we need to have in these times. And when I work with groups right now too, I really have to. I poured a sweat lodge a couple of weeks ago, and it was the first one in this lodge down the road at a friend's place. And boy, it was powerful. But there were two people in there who were in such fear that they were letting things come out that really I don't like to hear in a lodge. But I had to be much more understanding than I would have been in the past. And working with it and through others who were in the lodge, we managed to work it out and smooth it over. And that was a great teaching for me too. It was a bunch of fear they had to get out and let poof go into the air, go into the earth. So I think some of these are ways we can certainly increase that light. Mr. Kiwi.
Oops. Gonna lower the hand thing. Yeah, a big thing. I'm just resonating so much with what you're saying, Jim. The positive side of this that I find that I've learned through doing ceremony with Jim, with Sotam, connecting with others, is once again that connection with the life and vitality that exists in all of nature. The more we've focused on this, we've found what I would call the healthy life-giving benefits of our connection, our community, our understanding of life, the seasons, the vitality that flows in everything. And I still come back to summer solstice. To me, is a celebration of that life and vitality. It flows everywhere, and it's not just summer that flows in. It flows in winter, but it flows in a different direction. It gives us quiet time. It gives us a longer night to go within, which is also part of the life. As life flows externally, it flows internally. And bringing, once again, the balance to these things As we bring balance to male and female, we bring balance within ourselves in everything. You know, it's not just, you know, male, female, it's not left, right, it's not logical, intuitive. It's absolutely everything you could imagine and more, because life includes everything, even beyond this planet. The whole solar system, the whole galaxy is part of that same life cycle that we're inhabiting and representing here on this planet at the very edge of the galaxy called Earth. Let's make sure we play our harmonious part. Welcome home to our hearts. Let's love each other. Lovely to see you all, and I hope to hear from you all. Thank you. Hugs.
Good.
Talking
Thanks,
stick in
Chris.
the middle.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, absolutely right. And it's how we play with these things. I mean, a couple of years ago, I'll fess up, maybe 3 years ago or 4, I would have problems saying to somebody, I love you. And I had to really work hard on that because it's really important to express that as well. Now it's just part of my everyday conversation. And yet I mean it. It comes from really from in my heart. And it's amazing how many times I watch it make a difference in somebody because they feel more comfortable. Maybe because I'm allowing myself to be more vulnerable. That's an explanation I got from a grandmother just the other day. So speaking how we're feeling is important. Welcoming in, and again, this is from Tom, the one who pulls together the Vine Ridge groups. Tom's bringing up changing relationships. And we're told that's going to happen a lot around this time of change that we're right in the middle of. We're in the middle of the Mayan change. We're in the middle of what the Kogi spoke about. I can go on and on, all the cultures that talked about this. Relationships are shifting and changing. Some are going away and new ones are coming in. That's something you really got to be in the heart for, to be ready no matter what happens. And like I said, you can get advice that may put you in the wrong road right now. You want to be on the road that's best for you. And a lot of times there's new people showing up who can help do that. I experienced that with Chris just the other night. So it's another piece of this. Thanks, Tom. That's a good piece. It's not always an easy one, but we're not all on the same road and the same path. And it's right now we need to work with those that we are connected to, that we know their energy, that we feel that we can trust their energy, that we know we can stand up together and reweave the way we function with each other and with the earth, which is the most critical thing right now. Or we won't have to worry about it in a couple generations because we'll be the new dinosaurs. Anybody want to take that for a ride? Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Does this mean I could become an old fossil?
What do you mean become? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Yeah, talking stick in the middle. Mary, all yours.
I would like to know if the Lakota or if the Pine Ridge people would speak of the white buffalo that was born and if they have anything to share about it. I would love to know. I know they have to type or whatever.
Yeah, they need to type in, which they will.
Yeah.
But we were actually, I was talking with some of this group earlier today before I went on this other meeting. That's a lot of white buffaloes, 5 in one time. It comes from, if you know, white buffalo calf woman. White buffalo calf woman brought all the ceremonies to the tribes, especially the Lakota. And when she was done doing that, I won't go into the whole story because we could lose the rest of the show. But when she was done doing that, and this is one of the big stories of the Lakota, she stood in front of the people and she said, when the time comes, you will see the white buffalo appear. And then she turned into, from being a young, beautiful woman, all in white, she turned into a black buffalo, took a couple steps, turned into a red buffalo, took a couple steps, turned into a yellow buffalo. In other words, she was mimicking the different colors of humans, and then turned into a white buffalo and walked away. And so the prophecy is when the white buffalo appear, the change will happen. Be ready. I was always told by my teachers, be very ready. Suffer no fools when the time comes. Make sure you connect with those you feel the most affinity for and stand up together and start to make it happen. And that's what I'm seeing happen big time. So this year, I knew of two of them that were born. And then there was a third that I was told about that was not announced yet. And the Park Service folks, it was up in Montana, I believe. Yeah. Actually invited in some of the Lakota elders to go and visit this white buffalo calf. And it was just announced the other day it was early May. Excuse me. And then a fourth and now a fifth. That's a lot. Last year that I'm aware of, there were two. And even that was considered a lot. I forget what it is. One in oh my goodness, over 1 million births is a white buffalo, and not an albino, a white buffalo. So it's not pink-eyed albino thing. It's actually white buffalo, which is interesting because buffalo are, black or brown. So where do they come from? I don't know. All recessive genes got me. So all the tribal people I know are now talking about, okay, we got the whole tribe of white buffalo here. Now, do we have to do it even more? And I think we're doing it. I think, shows like this, I think gatherings like we'll have at your place, Mary. A couple of them I'm going to tomorrow. There's one in the park. All these things are helping to feed into the collective light energy. We know there's a lot of dark energy out there. We see it being played out. However, they're doing their job. They're bringing forward that darkness. They're bringing forward that hate, that racism, that rage, so we can heal it. It's hard to heal something if you can't get a grasp of what it is. So I think all that's going on, and I think this solstice is going to be huge. Somebody asked online when we celebrate it, and it's the 20th is the official time of the solstice, which is Tuesday, and the Lakota agree. That's when they also do. So yeah, this gives us a little time to prepare. Mary, talking.
I was just wondering if there's a significance to the number 5, 5 buffalo.
That's a really good story. A good question. And I was thinking, when I heard about the fourth, I went, wow, okay, there we have it.
That's 5 of us online here too.
Yeah, I know. I'm
one for each.
So maybe we're a bunch of buffalo. I don't know. Buffalo energy. Yeah, when I heard about the fourth, okay, that's really neat. That's the 4 directions on the medicine wheel. That's the 4 colors of people. That's the 4 seasons. 4 is very sacred. And then when it went into 5, I'm like, I'm not sure what that means. I think for me, it's going to mean it's not done. There's more coming. I'm personally feeling that there's going to be 7 before it's done.
I was getting that too.
Were you really? Okay.
Yep.
Which
I had wondered the same thing.
The 7 directions.
Yeah.
The 4, yeah. As above, so below, so within.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not done.
You're done? You said, oh, you're not. Oh, okay. That was a good question. I was kicking that around today as well. So if I'm right, or if that's the way it plays out, more are coming. They are scattered around a bit. I believe, 2 of them are north of us, one in Wyoming and one by Yellowstone. And then the other three are also here in the west, but not right up there. If there's two more, boy, if 7 show up, I'm just going to go into my lodge and just stay there.
I was going to say we could sit and have a 3 month sweat lodge.
Or do multiple lodges. Yeah,
Yeah,
that too.
yeah, it would be. Yeah, well, we've got 5 at the moment. We'll go with that.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it's interesting. I wanted to pour another lodge this coming week because then I'm leaving in July a bit with Haley. We're going on a medicine. I collect medicine at least once a year, and she's going with me this time to collect some medicine. And I can't pour one because there's fire restrictions. I think I probably could do it down where the lodge is, but it's just too dry and I don't want to risk it. I'm hoping that shifts so I get a chance to pour one before I go. If not, I may do a dry lodge and just bring in some rocks and can still do the ceremony. It can still get hot. It just won't be the same. Now there's 6 of us. Anybody see welcome? Maybe another buffalo's coming?
Well, imagine if we got the 7 directions.
Yeah, and we may, because a couple other people said they were going to try to get on. They were busy in other things because we shifted the night for this. Usually we do Wednesday, but I changed it to Tuesday. Whoops.
So you do these every week or what? These
Yes.
Zoom meetings?
We usually do one every Wednesday at 5 o'clock our time here in Sedona.
Okay.
But this time I was asked to be part of the ceremony tomorrow in the park, and I felt I needed to do that too. So, and then the more I thought about it, this gives us a couple of days to actually think about these things or feel these things, I should say, and mull them over and then use them however we use them. And it possibly, gives other people a chance. This is the largest group that we've ever had from Pine Ridge on. I don't know if that's coincidence or not. Tom, is that a coincidence? Okay, Christopher, go.
Yep. Yeah, I'm almost losing track of what I was going to say. Once again, you're sort of covering a lot of the areas that I'm looking at. I can't help but feel there's a significance in what we're doing, not just personally or within the small group. I'm feeling that sense of coming together, and I don't know how that fits in the solstice. But that sense of coming together is getting highlighted for me very much in the moment. That community isn't just those that I know, it's those that I have not met yet personally or come across in groups like this. There's a coming together. I can only describe it as global at the moment. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel it. And especially as this discussion's going on, I'm feeling it even more. And if anybody can speak to that, I'd be open to it. Thank you. Talking stick in the middle.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, that's a good point too. And it's Tom just wrote, paying attention to anyone who shows up now. There's a reason we're meeting everyone right now who's showing up. And I was thinking of that too. We have people here. Sarah's been showing up for these for a while now. She's absolutely part of this group. Jasmine was here, I think, last week, right? Yeah. And she came back in again. And so that's in a stronger way then, without shifting anything. She just comes in stronger because her medicine's there stronger. Mary, I knew before when I lived here before. And now she's circled around and she and I are reconnecting. Those things are powerful. And then we have a new friend who entered. Is it Mackay? Is that proper? Okay.
Aha. Oh, yes. Okay. I figured out how to unmute myself. Yeah, I'm Mackay St. Rain, and I am in Bloomington, Indiana. And yeah, it's kind of very interesting how I found this group, or this group found me very weird, actually. um but yeah, here I am, definitely. um w- I really feel and second that wanting to connect on a global level, or connecting on a global level. I was just out in Durango and Pagosa Springs and Taos for some sacred dances, and I've just returned, and all I can say is it's transformative, absolutely transformative. And I met people from all over the world, and now I'm here with you guys, partially and because of that. And even though I don't even really know what I've gotten into, I've been here all of 5 minutes, but it just like, it feels like home. I love it already. I just, yeah.
That's perfect.
So.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's absolutely perfect. We're showing up in places and we're not sure why. I showed up on the conference call before this, and I intended to go to this event in Crestone with Christopher and Haley. And suddenly I was wrapped up not only in multiple presentations, but bringing in our global drumming circle. So it's just listening now and letting things happen is really, really a good way to go. So welcome. Just
Thank you.
absorb it. It's interesting. You said one other thing I wanted to hit, and then I'll turn it back to Chris. The global piece of this. Now, I've worked on that for years and years. When I first stepped up on the spiritual road, of course, we didn't have any internet or any of that. So I physically traveled around the globe quite a bit, living and working with different indigenous cultures. Now we have this tool, which is a positive tool when we use it for this sort of thing. So we can have people from all over the globe here, and we can share what we're doing. And then we can take that and go locally and apply it. Like I'll be doing tomorrow with 2 groups, and the next day with Mary's group. And then hopefully the day after that, I don't have to. But it's combining the physical and the virtual now, I find really powerful. Chris.
I was just wanting to do a quick greetings, Mackay. Hi from down here in New Zealand. You want to meet people from over the globe, you don't get much further away than this. One thing I'd like to ask, Jasmine, I actually don't know, you're the only one I don't know where you live now.
I'm from Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Ah,
Can you hear me?
greetings, and yep, can hear you perfectly.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you. And just sort of adding to it, whatever's happening at the moment, the right people are getting brought together. For me personally, I was, here in New Zealand, small little world, me, my village, interacting with the people that know me and some that don't, wanting to get word of what I thought it was of value out. Never really did much with it. There wasn't a lot happening in some ways, just me and the local community. Jim drops in and brings in this whole global thing. And it's meeting the right people at the right time. Whatever it was that drew Jim to me and me to Jim,
Here we are.
It's led to something even greater. And this is what I'm enjoying watching happen. It's not just with me and Jim. A week or 2 ago, Alian and I were hosting a show together. And that's me in New Zealand, Alian in India. We're starting to work very, very communally on a global scale. And to me, this is the way we've got to think now. It's not just about us. It's not just about our country. It's not just about our culture. It's everything together. Plant, animal, mineral, four-leggeds, two-leggeds, finned, winged, the whole lot. Unless we're all inclusive, we're still needing to expand our picture to include everything that is part of this living entity we call Earth and environment. Talking stick in the middle.
Yeah, good job. Whoops, I forgot to turn off my mic. Whoops, sorry. Yes, it's gathering up the circle. If you have some time on the 20th, which is our Thursday, I think it's Chris's Friday, because he's always contrary. Spend it. If you don't have a group you can be with, you always have a group of trees or plants or some other natural element. Go out there in nature and just absorb it. Let it enter you. See what comes, because I know we're all going to get a lot of direction this time. I can feel it. When I'm preparing for my medicine trip, which I think we're going to start like right around the 1st of July. That's when I usually start. And it feels much different than it usually does. I'm already got a lot of people reaching out and saying, hey, can you guys come here for a bit? Can you guys come here for a bit? Will you come and look at this for a bit? Will you join us here? And that's feeling the circle pull is really interesting. That's not what I usually feel. I usually feel like, oh, I'm going to go out, below the radar, and then I'll appear where I want to. Not being given the chance that time. And the person traveling with me has a lot less experience. So she'll be dipped into some opportunities that I never had when I was younger. My primary teacher took me on these trips when I was younger, and they were awesome. But we never saw too many people. We mostly just worked with nature. I have a feeling this time it's going to be a good mix. Chris.
Yeah, I was just resonating with your mentioning going below the radar. We think we might do it in one way, but just quietly, the mother knows what we're doing all the time. And she's now running the show and she works us together. There is no below the radar. There's no separation anymore. It's like we're literally being brought together to become part of a greater whole, literally. The old school of operating from separation doesn't work, so we're coming back into this community and learning to do it in a healthy way, which is, for me, a lot, learning to listen to people. Even though I do a lot of talking here, I find often when I'm going into situations I'm not familiar with, I just go quiet and I listen because I realize I've got more to learn than I have got to offer. Jim celebrates those moments. He loves it. The Kiwi stops talking. It's wonderful. And especially when I get what I call the stunned look on my face, as he has great fun taking me places and I experience things and I just can't say anything for hours afterwards. He loves it. I think he does it just to shut me up. So yeah, talking stick in the middle.
And it's this solstice is going to kick off that part of ceremony for me. And I remember when my elders took me out, Two Bears and his wife Linda were the primary ones. And I know that's how I looked, because they would take me into things and I'm like, wow. And that's how you learn. You don't need to know much about it ahead of time. You just jump into it. The people, the places, the experiences, that's the learning right there. If you do it with an open heart and in a good way, just to understand and connect with whatever it is, then you learn a ton. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I guess I should not have said that, because now they want to know, hey, Jim, you guys are coming up here on the res for a while, aren't you? So looks like there's another one on my list.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
gotta love it.
Okay, we're,
I'll be able to say to so many people if we get the chance together, lovely to see you.
true. He says a lot of strange things. He's from New Zealand. I'm
Yeah.
learning them. Ooh,
So I thought when I went to America, I'd be upside down, but apparently I'm not.
no. No, you just learned. If I may, yeah, I know Chris won't mind. So Chris came last year. I didn't know how long he was going to stay. I figured probably a couple weeks, maybe 3. He ended up, he was here like 3 months and he left because his visa ran out. But the extraordinary changes in Chris over that period of time, again, from someone on the outside, was amazing. Just amazing. He became, he entered on the road of being a medicine person, which I think I can safely say you really were not before you came. You were well schooled in a lot of things, but not in nature-based or indigenous medicine. So
Mm.
the more we do those things, I love it now when I go to things and new people are there. I talked about that first sweat lodge I poured down the road here a couple weeks ago. It was perfect. I had 4 local elders in there, probably checking up on me. Not really. And then we had 5 or 6 first timers. Absolutely beautiful blending of energy. And I even asked a couple of the first timers to do little roles as we did the lodge, because everything's shifting now. So we have to allow for that as well. Chris.
Yeah, I'm just aware, as you're mentioning, there was so much learning going on. When I was in my small world back here in New Zealand, in the world I've got here, I seem to know a lot. But once I got over to the US and Jim took me to some places and we shared experiences, especially when we were traveling through some of the reservation land, I really had hammered home how much I didn't know. I felt like an absolute beginner. And even the knowledge I did have, I had to let go of because it felt so limited by what was available. And, sometimes it was just what we were feeling, the sense of connection, the sense of community, togetherness that was there. Yes, I can see various things that were there in various ways, but that sense of connection with nature and the earth was way more than I've ever felt here in my own country. Or I could say it was in a different way. And the importance of always being open and being willing to let go of what I thought I knew, to take on an expansion. And I call it expansion because when we're growing, we feel that expanding sensation, but we don't know what it is yet because we haven't fully embodied it. And until we embody it and breathe it in and live it, walk it, it comes out in our words. It's not talking from a thought, it's coming from the experience. And yeah, I honestly can't thank you enough for that, Jim, and all the others who added to it, Gentle Thunder and others that we've got, Sananda. There was various elders, Mountain Eagle. There's so many who added to it that, yeah, it's no matter how many words I use, it never feels enough. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I skipped over this before, but I'm going to go back and grab it. We talked about patience being one of the things we have to have right now, especially with other people, and especially if we care about them and want to help them on the road. Because if they're stuck in this change or fear or whatever, you may be the target of some things you don't really want to feel, but it's just they have to get it out. So Mary wrote, and I've heard this before, but I still love it. God give me patience, and I want it yesterday. So thank you, Mary. Okay, and Sarah wrote, we can get everyone together and perhaps save the world. I'm just going to change that, Sarah. We can get everyone together, everyone who's working in the light. It won't be everyone, and that's okay. Those who can't, we just wish them well, send them blessings, let them go on their way, and we will save the world, not perhaps. It's like Yoda from Star Wars. There is no try. There is either do or you don't do. We're going to do because we can. So thank you. So you don't always have to talk. You can just put messages. I do read them. Anybody else wish to say anything? We're getting near the end before I bring Chris up again. Okay, good, Mary.
I think that we need to bring through love right now with this group, through intention and through collective focus. And I think that would be a big boost for everyone, and the Pine Ridge people, to especially them. They need support and love, and to know that they're seen and they're heard, and they're so blessed right now. And I think that we need to bring through love and raise that energy right now before
That's
we quit.
perfect. Let me see if Chris, do you want to say something before we do that?
I was going to, and I'll add to it a little bit. I had a discussion earlier this week with several people, and what we're looking at is the earth doesn't need saving. There's nothing wrong with the earth. Nature functions perfectly. The only thing that's out is the place we've been operating from, we as humans. No other creature is out of its alignment. So what we're learning to do, especially through the ceremonies like summer solstice, we're learning how to listen. We're learning to, what is it we're listening to, how to get in touch with it, and to come from that listening, hearing, balanced place, which, as you say, Mary, is through love. Love is not a thought. It's not just a single action. When we come from love, it affects every action. It is a state of being. It's an in-the-moment presence. It is not a theory. It does not come from our heads. And things don't work from that place. As like Jim and I have said repeatedly, we learnt to get out of our heads into our hearts, and that's where things worked from. And that's where the love comes from. When I feel you, and I feel the presence of our brothers and sisters in Pine Ridge, meeting you for the first time, Mary, I feel you, and same for you, Mackay. We get to meet, and we not only see each other, we feel each other, and that's where our connection comes from, and that's where the balance is. So love,
Good.
let's all feel it. It's in the moment. Talking stick in the middle.
Good, thanks. And when we started the program today, we were a few minutes late, so we started it up, and I was 5 minutes into it before I realized we always do an opening prayer or an opening thought, and we didn't do one today. So I love Mary's idea, and I'm really gratified that she's volunteered to lead this love part.
Okay. Fair enough. Are you ready?
Sure.
So I would like everyone, no, I don't have my hand up. Well, forget it. Everyone to just place your hand on your heart and go into a slow, deep breath and connect with your breath. Feeling your chest rise and fall, feeling the heartbeat, feeling the connection with this group, feeling the connection with the earth, feeling a connection with the elements of nature, feeling a connection with the ancestors, the grandfathers, the grandmothers. Feeling a connection with all of life. Just breathing it in. And now breathing in source, the creator, the one from above or within. And feeling the love of the creator, the one within the heart. As a parent loves a child, so creator loves us. He wants us to do good and be well and be happy, full of joy and love and light. Breathe in that connection with universal love. All that is. Breathe it in. Taking deep breaths and breathing in that love. Breath is the connection between the divine and the physical. It's what separates or connects, it connects and brings spiritual into the physical through the heart. Breathing in that connection through the divine love of the Creator. Breathing in that love, first for yourself, filling with love and light within. Feeling that love for this group. Blanketing the entire earth with love right here and now. Divine love. Sacred. And spreading that love throughout the universe. Like a golden sphere from the sun. Beautiful, eminent rays of golden light. Emanating love. Emanating rays of golden light from the great central sun. Our star being nation. Our star brothers and sisters are with us, and they will be guiding us through the solstice. So listen within. It comes from within, not without. As Jim was saying, it comes from within. Listen to the true voice from within. And that is the message right now. Now, if everyone would just return back to the room. return back to your body, feeling your arms and your legs. Want to move your head around if you need. But keeping that energy, keeping that flow going, and keep it going through the solstice. This is like the kickoff. And it's a perpetual motion right now. And perpetual motion is so much easier than inert, where you start from scratch. So use this to move forward. This will help boost you through the solstice. Yes. So thank you.
That was beautiful, Mary, and perfect. I'm so glad that we've reconnected.
I know it's been a while.
It's been a minute. Thank you all for
All
being
a
here.
circle.
Yeah, always a circle.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. Everyone who hears this later, feel free to share it around. This is sponsored by our nonprofit, Chris and I are a part of, Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, SOTEM.org, if you want to look us up online. And we will be back next week. Anybody who has suggestions for things they want us to cover or put into the pot here, feel free to get hold of me. They don't have to all come from us. Everybody, take this solstice and use it well. You got 2 days before it hits. Feed your light wolf. If you feel doubts or fears or anything else coming, I would really suggest go inside. Use the tools Mary's talking about. Use that love. And dissipate them.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward. Yes. Good. Good. And remember, the Mother Earth is out there. If there's things you have to release, let them go. She'll take them. She'll take them.
True.
Thank you. Chris, do you have a send off for us?
Yeah, just a quick statement for those who feel you can benefit from it. You can come back to this video when we post it, skip through the whole lot, get to Mary's meditation and just do that. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. It's lovely to be able to go back to that meditation and just run it. So please do if you feel drawn.
Yeah, and the people at Pine Ridge really enjoyed it too. So they're sending thanks in a lot of ways. They're calling you Grandmother Sunshine. So you must have lit up their day too. Thanks, everybody. These are really powerful doings. So let's just keep it up. Let's keep up the light. New people, welcome back. Machai, come on back if you wish. Sarah, you're here a lot. That's awesome. Jasmine, glad you're part of the circle now. I think Jasmine.
I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate this. It's hard to find connections like this in my small community, and you have no idea how much this means to me just to have these Zoom meetings, but just want to give gratitude for that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, because that's how it works. Thank you. I really felt that.
Me too. Thank you so much, Judge Jasmine. Big hugs from New Zealand.
Which is a long way to hug, but yeah. I may see you in the flesh before long, because I think we'll probably go that way. I want to stop in on Chamois and Sunbird on our way out. Okay, everybody, I think we're going to turn off the recording once I find it. Did you have something else, Jasmine, or is your hand just still up? Okay. Good. I know it's all these darn technical things. Bye all. Love you all. Love yourself. Love each other. Even love those who are not easy to love, like me sometimes.